The Melsonby Hoard was initially discovered by Peter Heads, who's a metal detectorist, and he contacted me because I was doing research on Iron Age sites in the region. We both realised he'd made an interesting and exciting discovery, so we contacted the Portable Antiquities Scheme and the British Museum to let them know, because it was potentially a treasure case. And then we both agreed that we'd come back and do a careful archaeological excavation. But it was only really when we went back to excavate the hoard and we opened up a much larger area that I think Peter and I and all of the team realised we were onto something really exciting. When we opened up and we realised there was much more material than we originally could see, we understood that this was a hoard that was, of a kind of scale and size that, is exceptional for Britain and probably even Europe. The hoard includes over 800 individual items, and that's lots of different kind of material. The vast majority of that material is what we call horse harness, those things like bridle bits, bits of decoration for horses or ponies as they really were in the Iron Age. What's unusual about the hoard is it also includes lots of pieces of the vehicles that came with them. But more than that, it also included 2 vessels, a cauldron and a wine mixing bowl, and also some things like iron spearheads, so a whole collection of material. The bowl that we discovered is really interesting because it's a very unusual type, not something you'd normally find in northern Britain. Its decoration combines both Mediterranean and British Iron Age styles and also has elaborate decoration of coral. So whoever owned something like that has probably got a network across Britain and across into Europe and even the Roman world.
Tom rang me in the morning to say what had been found, and by the end of that day we'd agreed to fund it. We all understood just how important this was, both for the university, for the British Museum, for Historic England and for the nation.
Our working theory at the moment is that it's been gathered together and maybe heated in a sort of big bonfire or perhaps a pyre. And this has deliberately destroyed the items, and then they've been thrown into this big ditch. And so some of them broken further through this process, and then there were stones put into the ditch as well, and that's damaged them even more. The fact that we've got such a big wealth of material being buried in northern England, which often isn't the focus for studies of this kind of late Iron Age period. So this draws the attention on the importance of the local area. But also, they are fascinating objects, and some of them are recognisable now, like the bridle bits that go in the horse's mouth. So you can engage with that and see some things have changed so little over 2,000 years.
The deposit at Melsonby actually consisted of 2 deposits, one larger one, but also this separate deposit. We were able to, unfortunate to be able to excavate that as a block, so we could remove that from site and excavate that in the laboratory.
With the block, we could see in the field that we had a series of very fragile copper alloy tubes, and they would be damaged if we excavated them. The first thing was to try to understand what was inside it. So we took it to Southampton and had it CT scanned there, which gave us a sense of what we might encounter. With this, we've been a little bit limited in how far we can go with the cleaning because it is part of a treasure case. The goal has been just to stabilize things, and I'm looking forward to one day seeing them on exhibit in their full glory.
This is one of the most important finds that's happened in many years, certainly one of the most important Iron Age finds that's happened. It tells a great deal about the history of England before England became England. It tells a great deal about our relationship with similar cultures in mainland Europe. But it also helps explain about kind of the complexity of the past. It also shows just how absolutely phenomenal the north of England was as well. People think it might have been something of a rural backwater, but it was every bit as important as the south of England. And this find isn't just nationally important, it's internationally important.
A hoard of this kind of scale takes a significant work to just document all the finds that need to be photographed, x-rayed and recorded, and all of that material needs to be conserved. So we need to stabilise it so that that material doesn't corrode or degrade any further before it gets deposited in a museum. That takes a considerable amount of time and painstaking work, so it's actually taken 2 years to undertake that work before we can then actually analyse a lot of that material. The hoard at Melsonby is incredibly significant and will lead to lots of re-evaluation of our understanding of Iron Age Britain.
Eventually, I hope that this whole collection is going to be acquired by a museum, and there'll be the opportunity for at least some of it to go on display where the public can see it as close to the find spot as possible.